Hi everyone, my name's Abigail. I'm a therapist, counsellor, and a psychic medium, and I want to talk to you today about manifesting SPs and how tricky it can be to really understand the concept of, well, a couple of concepts actually. The 3D doesn't matter. The 3D, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The other one is that accepting personal responsibility for what's played out in your life, because we have a culture where for your whole life that you're taught, and especially in the West, that control is outside of you. Things happen to you. If you're a good person, you work really hard, you follow the rules, you don't, you treat people kindly, that good things will eventually happen, or they probably won't, because life will throw curveballs at you, but you'll just have to get up and link into some sort of support, and hopefully you'll have enough insurance and you'll pay all your wages out and everything will just flow and you'll have this good enough life. And for people who are manifesting, what they've come to realize is, usually through a lot of pain as well, is what they've come to realize is, wait a minute, that doesn't work for me. And one of the ways they usually start to realize is they have patterns within their relationships, and this is a lot more common now. And I think one of the reasons why is, in the past, if we go back to parents and grandparents and how they managed to have these successful long-term relationships, and there's a lot of people say, oh well, the women weren't treated well. I don't know. I think that if you ask them, they would be satisfied enough and it worked for them enough, and as long as they weren't physically abused, let's put that aside. And I think one of the reasons why is because when I look into the energy of the past and read for people, what I feel is that after the war, and that was like 70 odd years ago, and then you have their kids, what they came in to do was to rebuild after this massive devastation. And there wasn't a focus on self and my individual needs, because they had to come together and create families to recreate countries, towns, communities, government. Everything had to be recreated in a way, and there had to be growth of all the people that had been lost. So there wasn't this big focus on me and my mental health, unless they were the ones that had the shell shock and the PTSD. But generally everybody just got on with it, and you just did your bit and you kept going. But then we've got to these generations now, and then everybody was manifesting more wealth, and that's played out with people becoming more wealthy in the world, even though at the moment we're having some sort of crisis, I suppose. And then what you see is all the people today having mental health. But what you also see is that many people have got to the point where they've had so many broken relationships, they've started to look at it and go, wait a minute, I can't any longer look at the patterns and decide that all these people treated me this way. There has to be something within me that I can change, and because I don't want this anymore and I don't need this anymore. And then what that does is brings in the internal locus of control, which at first seems really difficult to kind of grasp the concept of, like, how can I change my world? How can I change anything? And then many people come across manifesting, and especially if they've got to aim towards understanding their spiritual nature of themselves. And it's very hit and miss what people understand about spiritual as well, because we've got all these new age things that everybody who's religious will go, let's write that off, but religions love to write each other off anyway. So but then I think what happens is, with manifesting, people start to have this recognition, and it's starting more and more that, wait, what if I change me and the external flows from there? And it seems to work for people, and it seems to be backed up by science, and there's a growing movement away from the old systems and controls, and they all seem to be crumbling, and there's this truth, this authenticity coming out, which leads people to go within and think about, what do I really want and how am I going to make that happen? And then people discover manifesting, and they take back their power, and they stop giving it to the outside world. They stop giving it to the systems, and we're seeing the systems consistently start to break down with people worldwide demanding authenticity and truth and honesty from governments, and the old ways of holding power aren't working because power is going within the individual now, and that's the big shift that we're going to see. And I think this comes from within us vibrating higher, and vibrating is like your frequency, and the earth also vibrating high, well, the earth realm vibrating higher, so that the darkness of the false can't be held anymore because it doesn't resonate with light and truth. So I hope that all makes sense. So when we first come across manifesting, there's, it's difficult to understand your way through it, because people will say, do affirmations, or you're not trying hard enough, or you have to do this, you have to do that, and what about free will? And so one of the things that I think is really important to understand is that we are governed by our 3D body in so many ways, although we can change it, and I do know that. But we're also governed by the neural pathways that we have in our body, and those are laid down in early childhood, like under 7 in the womb. And the things that we found in our childhood that were really easily given to us and that we didn't really think a lot of, like, for instance, if you had enough food to eat, if you had a beautiful home, it's likely that those things aren't going to be a massive problem to you if they didn't have any deep worries around them. If your meals were always on the table on time and they were always healthy and no one ever mentioned the food running out, it's likely that you are not probably going to have any major issues and emotions to shift around, say you want to have good food in your life. It's probably not going to be too hard for you. If you grew up in a family where money was talked about a lot in terms of it doesn't grow on trees, there's not enough, do you think I'm made of money? Oh no, you can't have that, we can't pay the bills. What would have happened is you've got wired into your body a lot of fears around enough. Is there ever going to be enough? And so for you, manifesting money may have a lot of emotional turmoil internally linked to it, and that's just not in your neural pathways. But the brain has plasticity, it can change, but in the way that you are triggered, you respond. And trigger is flight, fight, freeze, in which we do it all day long, and stress to different levels, of course. So you have your pathways about that, and then it's in your energy systems, like meridians, your energy systems and your electrical systems of your body. And then also those emotions are stored within your body in different organs, depending on the level of the emotion, the type of the emotion that it is. So if you're wondering why some people manifest really easily and some content creators are out there going, you just do this and it's really easy and you could do it in 3 days. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, you can if it's something that you don't have any resistance to, and that is resistance subconsciously, bodily, and it depends. And if it depends how deep the emotions are too. And the things that are usually the hardest are things that push you into, so things that as a child pushed you into fears of abandonment and rejection and survival. So if those 3, which have big emotions attached to them, are an experience that you had when you were younger, then you might find it a bit tricky. It's 1,000,000% not impossible. But what I'm going to say to you is you're going to have to persist probably a bit more than the average person on that area of your manifestations, and you're going to have to really recognize that, okay, I've got some deep work here because of what I went through as a child and what my family history holds and what my family transgenerational beliefs are. But that means I'm just going to have to put the time and effort in. So I'm going to have to focus more on that area and creating safety within my body and moving out of survival mode, or moving through rejection, abandonment of self, not the other people, of self, and bringing that in. So absolutely do the work. If you want something, if you desire something, if you've gotten to the point where you want to manifest something, the reason that you want to manifest it is because it already exists. It already exists externally and internally, within your heart, within your mind, within your frequency. But the problem is that these old ways of being in the world are not, they're like blocks, they're like clouds. If I look in energy psychically, I see them as deep clouds and disconnection. So what you need to do is do the work to integrate them, which means basically dissolving them, really, and they then become part of your light. So I hope I've explained that well. But then what happens too is it's really easy to program into yourself new values and beliefs about your worth, and to connect to yourself and understand what it actually feels like. What does it feel like to be deeply connected to yourself? Like, it's a concept that's talked about, like self-concept work. But do people actually know what that means? Like, you know, I was watching a video the other day and they were saying, oh, that means whatever you want it to mean. No, it doesn't. I mean, it means a deep sense of, think of the person that you might love the most, or think of those moments when you're totally joyful, and bring that inside you and hold that inside you and hold it in a way that you just feel so connected to you. And it might be foreign, or it might be something that you have fleeting moments of. But for most people, and you know, I've said this before and I'll say it again, is you will know when you're lined up with yourself, because not just synchronicities, because it's not that repeating number thing. Well, it is, but it's more like things will just start lining up. You'll actually tend to like not be focused on things and just get immersed in whatever you're doing, but you'll know that you're lined up because people will look at you. They'll literally look in your eyes when you're in public places, and not because you're hot or whatever else. It's different. It doesn't have that feel. It's more that they suddenly notice you've come alive, and you have come alive because your soul, your spirit is shining through your eyes, and people are like, whoa, and they cannot help but being drawn to that energy like moths to a flame. So being within is having your light within you, having so much light within you that you're present within you, you're connected to you, your God within, you're co-creating reality, and that you just feel that presence, and you'll know it's going to happen. You'll slip in and out of it for quite a while, and you just have to keep working. And that's why, you know, they always call healing a journey, which I say, I don't know what a wank, but it actually is. It's like a freight train going the wrong way too fast sometimes, but it's a journey, and you just got to keep doing it. You just got to keep following. Oh, look, see? The headache. It's an absolute headache, because you have to change those old pathways. We have to paint a new picture. And then what do we have? Connection, and everything starts to fall into place on top of one another. So I hope this makes sense, and why. So do the work. Like, oh my goodness, if it's an easy area for you, do the techniques, and I'll come in and I'll prove to you, because you have to know too deeply and completely that the law is real, the law of assumption, the law of, you know, manifesting, the law of alignment. There, you know, it's all there. But though, if you're a bit discouraged, don't be. Just know that you have to keep going, and, you know, just be mindful too. There's a lot of people. I made a few videos about this, and kind of it's a bit tricky, because there's a lot of people online at the moment and around it focusing on their mental health. Okay, let that be a temporary thing. Acknowledge it, and then go, you know what? I can move through this. I can get so connected to me by taking responsibility for my own emotions that this is going to fade into the background, and I'm going to be all that I can be. So take heart, keep going, don't give up, do the work. I'm available for sessions if anyone wants a session, so I can do intuitive readings, which, yes, I can pin down where your issues came from and what age and what would be the best healing modality for you. Or I can read on your SP, can read on your manifesting, can read on your life in general. I don't need photos, I don't need anything. I actually just like to hear your voice, because then I can work from a voice. I do video calls for coaching sessions, and I also do therapeutic sessions, where if you have a therapeutic session with me, you will leave feeling different. You will leave with your emotions. That a session, we will release emotions from within your body systems. All right, thank you. I'll leave the details below.